Welcome back for round 2 of putting in the work. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Jason, let's talk about those 4 elements here that we want to continue.
Yeah, and you would have to go and listen to the other one. So
go back and listen to it.
Because it's a continuation.
Yeah.
So we got into solid, liquid, gases, shifting states. We got into the Earth and how the Earth is our home. And we got into how science is destroying. I mean, there's a lot of good things with science. You know, I mean, we've had vaccines and all these great things, but we have to realize with the military-industrial complex, everything that's going on with pesticides and fertilizers, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we get into water. But that's the next one. So we have earth, water, fire, air. Water.
Yeah.
There was a study in 1946 with Yale University. It's really interesting about psychic energy and water.
Oh, so what was their study?
So this was really, really cool. So they took mason jars, and then they had students hold mason jars full of water. And then they just held them, and then they would put the water. They held them for 3 hours, and then they put the water on the plants. The garden that they had at Yale University. Well, all the plants grow, like normal. Everything was good. They took the same mason jars, same water. They took it to a psych ward that was near, and they had, in this psychiatric hospital, they had people hold the water.
Sure.
And I forgot how many jugs it was. It was like 40 or 60, something like that. And then they took it back and put it on the plants, and the plants grew all almost like dead and, like crooked and just, really... It was really horrific. And we know with Masaru Emoto,
I
think,
he died a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How that words with water and how water transmute energy.
Right.
But the psychic energy, this ability for water to be able to, this is something that is pretty serious when we look at
water in its state is completely neutral. It's at a wonderful equilibrium. So when you come in, it's going to pick up on whatever resonance or wavelength you're outputting. So if you're in a psych ward, you're totally like all over the place, totally non-coherent. Just your waves are crazy, essentially, in that fact. The water's just like taking all that energy in, and it's going to store it. Water's a storage mechanism. Why do you think you have so many pharmaceuticals and stuff like that can be found in it, like we talked about in the other episode? Water holds onto that.
Well, and this isn't woo-woo stuff. The Cray supercomputer, the hard drive is made out of water.
Yeah,
so and any supercomputers
let's make it simple. Silicon dioxide, quartz crystal. That's what you save your information on a hard drive. Crystal. Water is a liquid crystal. There's no reason you can't use it also.
Well, yeah, and it remembers the entity that it touches. So
that's because it puts the vibrational frequency in.
Right, and so that's why they use water in these supercomputer hard drives. Because it remembers everything. It's a non-local field memory is what they call it. And so water is an interface.
Yeah.
It's a medium.
Water. That's why, spirits always rise up around water, like rivers and streams. Is because, water carries energy. That's all it's doing. It's a transmission mechanism. It doesn't care, good, bad, dead, or alive. Doesn't matter. It's just going to carry that stuff. That's what it's doing. So if you're talking about the non-local sense of it, that means something that can sit outside of this dimensional state can actually interact with the energy of this water. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the water that we drink, 70% of our body, let's say this first, 70% of our body is water.
Same with the planet.
So 70% of our body is a hard drive of water. Same with our planet. It transports, when you drink a lot of water, it transports energy to the blood.
Correct.
And you also have
what about information to the blood?
Yeah, exactly.
To the cells.
And it has this interfacing vibration, and this is all science. So you got to think when you put water into your body. One, we're not drinking enough of it, so most people are in a dehydrated state. They said 90% of people
are chronically dehydrated.
So right there alone, your supercomputer. You're depriving it of the information that
it's got no hard drive. You can't store stuff.
But when you take a plastic bottle that's dead dinosaurs and plants, and you keep that in, and then it releases all the chemicals that the plastic has,
or even the vibrational pattern of the plastic.
Because you know that Costco water that you buy in those plastic containers. How long have they been?
Bums me out.
How long have they been sitting in a warehouse at 100 degrees?
On concrete.
Yeah. So you're getting the worst. So there's, they even, I listened to a whole podcast on the guy, and it's really interesting. It's on the Ben Greenfield podcast. This guy has a plate, and you put your water on it, and he can put the chemical compounds of different type of, like for instance, they have one that's Viagra.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it puts the chemical compounds in the water.
Yeah.
So, and they say, and Ben Greenfield's talking about this, he said it took about 20 minutes. He's like, I was drinking Viagra. Yeah, and then it worked in like 20 minutes.
Well,
and no chemical was put in the water. The water stored the information.
Any good scientist that works in biopharma, they know it's a change in vibrational pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's all these things are. They're things that change the phase state within the body. They know. They're not dumb.
So when we look at water, and we see us as biological beings in nature, and we see that nature survives off of water.
Yeah. And
in these shifting states, water is the key. We have a safe home, the earth. It's not safe now, but we have a climate emergency.
It's at risk.
But for right now, our home is safe.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this water that we're craving and that we so desperately need. When we do drink water, we don't drink enough. Obviously, we're dehydrated. And then on top of it, we're drinking polluted water.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we're having bad thoughts. And on top of that, we're smacking into other people with bad thoughts. And on top of that, we're walking around on concrete and pavement and other synthesized materials.
With fluorescent lighting.
Oh, and on top of that, we have all these towers that are emitting radio frequencies that are just bashing into us too, plus our computer.
5G, all that stuff, yeah.
So then if you think about your water, I'd rather take the water from the psych ward.
Yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness.
But I mean, even Emoto did that with, using the words love. Mm-hmm. And then even showing microscopically, in case, there's a whole video on YouTube you can watch of this, guys. He wrote some books on it, and then watching the actual snowflake look of the water.
Yeah. So when you're freezing it,
mm-hmm.
So after you put the energy into it and then you freeze it, they have different patterns when they freeze. Some are geometric, very stable and balanced, and then the ones where you're talking about like hate, or bad music or bad thoughts, all those different things.
Well, he took polluted rivers. Polluted rivers. He took clean rivers and polluted rivers and showed that water.
Yeah.
And it was horrific.
And also water that comes through pipes that move at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, galvanized pipes. Good luck.
No, but through a 90-degree angle. Water doesn't move that way. Water's translational.
Oh, right.
It spins and pulls itself forward. So if you're shoving it through these hard angles, it's just destroying its structure. The video is called The Secret Life of Water, in case you want to watch it.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. So we have earth, water, and then we have fire.
What's that band?
I love that. Cool cover. They have a cool album cover.
Yeah.
So fire. Well, your solar plexus is in your metabolism is what fire is. And we know with chakras and stuff like that. And we also know that in your solar plexus is what they call the second brain. Mm-hmm. But you actually have more neurons.
It's my gut.
Yeah, in your gut, you actually have more neurons than your brain does.
Yeah.
So whenever you begin thinking about
bad gut feel,
this fire or this metabolism, they also say that 90% of people are inflamed. Yeah. That's why you have obesity and all that. So we're living on a planet that we're being self-destructive.
We're dehydrated.
We're dehydrated, swollen, and now this metabolism that we're supposed to have is we're eating it. We're eating foods that are dead. We're eating foods that are, and I can feel this like personally. If I eat bad, I can feel it within a few hours.
When the first 3 hours of a vegetable being picked out of the ground, it loses about 40% of its nutrient value.
Well, and they also
40%.
No, so this is even crazy. I was reading Rudolf Steiner, and he talked about
Steiner.
Yeah, he talked about he created the Waldorf education system and stuff. Amazing. He's got so many books he's wrote. He said plants are an external organ to us.
Of course they are.
And they turn light into food.
Yeah, think about it.
Because we can't do that.
We can't do it. They turn light into food, and they're also another set of lungs.
Yes.
Come on.
So
how is it that hard to see that the Earth is alive? People look at a rock and they just think it's dead.
but the plants that we're eating is bad.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So people are like, I've tried plant-based, I've done all this, I'm pescatarian or whatever. But then the plants that you're eating are monocrop. I mean, absolutely, you got explosives. It's probably making you sicker.
It's probably it's in nutrient strip soil, all that other stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing of value in that spinach.
I'm just cold.
Oh yeah. No. I don't care either way.
Okay. So upset with you.
You do have your vegan shirt on today, gangster vegan. So I didn't know if you're just being vegan.
No.
Share the world. It's so funny. Yeah.
You're going to see me on Sea Shepherd.
I want to talk about this. I listened to a guy yesterday, and he brought up such a great argument.
Which is?
Why hate speech is so important.
Hate speech?
Yes, because how we value, he was talking about freedom of speech.
This is interesting.
He's like, how we value hate speech is by what religion or culture is at the time. He goes, 60 years ago, if you talk to somebody that was for abortion, people would say, you're murdering a baby. This is about murder. And in our laws, in the United States laws, if you murder a baby, you committed murder. You should die, or you should go to jail forever. Do you see what I'm saying? If you go to India and you eat a cow in front of them, the cultural, aspects of that. So it's bias.
So what does that have to do with the hate speech?
No, that's what he's talking about. He's like, so people that have these polarizing political views, whether it's far right or far left,
okay,
and they start deeming things hate speech, you really have to look at them in a cultural context.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
because you see what I'm saying? Because you could, if you're, on the other end, the liberal end, it's like there's a woman's choice. That's not murder. That's, scientific. This is what's been proven. And
you got the conservative old white guys.
Yeah. It's like you're murdering. So what we view is it's a slippery slope when we begin to think about what is hate speech and what is not. That's why, the founding forefathers were so great in having freedom of speech.
Bro, hate is hate.
Yes, but who as a society we can't deem like this is hate speech.
Oh no, I'm just saying listen.
Oh, hate is hate. Yeah, negative.
I'm just saying
it's just negative.
I'm just saying hate is hate, but you can't say, oh, what I'm saying is hate speech and what you're saying is not hate speech.
So we need to censor you.
Yeah, no, that's crap.
Because in a free market, here's what happens. Whenever you have free speech in a free market, whenever you say something absurd, you're coming out there totally naked in a free market.
Yeah.
So your idea, if it's absurd like flat earth, is going to be people. You're going to get a percentage of people that are idiots and will believe that. But majority of people are going to be, this is the most absurd thing I ever seen. Look at these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why you need that. And I just thought it was interesting, a side note. But
no, because like you can use that to test off of like, is this, are you serious right now? Think about it. Not even hate speech. Like when I watch people throw trash out of their car, I'm like, are you serious right now?
Well, I was looking at, they were showing a picture the other day of how much trash is on Mount Everest.
Well, yeah. So
and there's guys coming up there with like oxygen masks on, picking the trash up.
I know, and they pick it up. They get it.
But it looked like a landfill in certain areas.
Yeah, well, you gotta understand this concept too. You bring your gear up there. You're about like second or third camp. Storm hits. You're not worried about picking up the fucking trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, I get that.
Yeah. And yeah, and people will go up there and clean it up. There are a lot of guys that go up there and find the food because it's just been frozen.
Yeah.
And they'll eat it. It's going to get used. And yes, there is trash up there. But is it as bad as the rivers we're looking at?
No. But I'm just saying, wherever humans go, we tend to leave a mess.
We do leave a mess. Yeah.
And we're destructive to the environment that we're in.
We're destructive to ourselves.
Yeah. And so when we look at fire, we also see sun. So, the sun, and we were talking about, we're living in concrete buildings. We're not in the sun. And you could tell a huge difference. I was just in Seattle, 40 degrees, cloudy every day.
But the sun gives you that catalyst for change. You need that heat. Heat shakes things up, right?
But we also have this problem with global warming in the sense of, nature balance itself. So when you have rainforests, you're not getting so much sun coming down. Rudolf Steiner also said this. He said the lungs of the earth are bees and trees.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and so whenever you have the sun, whenever you have it not balanced, whether you have too much or you have not enough, then it begins to create what we're seeing now with this global warming and
Be thankful
everything.
for clouds and ozone.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I think, and this is a word I use, I think we have, our planet has a corporate disease.
Wow, that's heavy.
If you really think about it.
That's heavy.
We have toxic food, we have poison food, we have poison water, we have poison land, all the land, the soil that we have.
Poisonous ads.
Yeah, we have Roundup, which we won't even talk about that.
Don't even get me started on Monsanto.
With the microbiome, the microbiome, and your hormones. Hormones are they're winning cases. People are winning cases against Roundup.
I know.
So
they're rounding them up.
Yeah, and then you have people that have metabolic syndrome, so they're inflamed, overheated. There's obesity. 60%. There are countries in this world that 60% of the people are obese.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Think about that.
And do you realize that there's a very strong correlation with meat eating too?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, in general, like
and whenever, I bet you if you take a step beyond that, you should also look at corporate investment.
Well, that's the corporate disease.
No, I know. I'd be interested to actually take that correlation a step further. Yeah.
Well, it becomes this never evolve. It becomes this just thing and we're at the point where, yeah, it was cool. It got us to the point of where we're at now, society. But now we have to wake up and say, there's cycles to everything. The earth operates in cycles. If I overplant, back in the day, it's like cave paintings. When you look at cave paintings, the very first ones, there was no mouth on any of the paintings. And there was a reason for that, is because everything had to be developed by hearing, because you had to know and hear behind you. Speaking, you would die.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking at dinosaur times and all that stuff. I mean, any moment something could come out of. I mean, if you look at Jurassic Park, talk, and then you're a human inside of Jurassic Park, think about that. And all you've got is a spear. So, it wasn't until this development of ego is when we really began to see paintings of mouths. So then it was this process of us separating. We began this process of separating ourselves from nature. Yes. And separating ourselves of these cycles of nature. And then we began to get to the point, and this is within the last probably 250 years, we've been get to the point to where we feel like the Indians looked at what we did with the buffalo. Native Americans here,
skulls and stuff.
And then we just come in. The white man just comes in and this is unlimited resource. Look how many buffalo there are.
Yeah.
And they just wipe through, where they actually worshipped the buffalo, and used every part of the buffalo for the survival of their. And we're grateful for the buffalo, and understood the spirit of the animal.
And they waited for the cycles of the buffalo to come through.
Yeah, they knew, and they knew you couldn't take too much from Mother Earth, because there was balance. There was this, and we've lost that, because we've gotten into this level of consciousness where we're so separated from nature that we're on this. What do you call that? I wrote it down here. No, we're on a linear line.
Yeah.
Instead of it being cyclic.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, we're in this inflexible straight shot rather than actually moving with the cycles. Look at all the ancient temples that were built around the world. All of them are to the cycles of nature.
Mm-hmm.
It was about, how do we build this to mirror even the cosmos? Those people were tuned in. Talk about circadian rhythm, right? Talk about being with those cycles, but talk about appreciating the earth and the planets outside of the earth, the cosmos, the heavenly bodies, right? Those celestial bodies. They brought all those things together. That sort of holistic mindset lived in those specific cycles. It saw the beauty in those cycles and evolving within the cycle, not trying to evolve out of it. They were integrating with it. Their cities were designed to mirror it, to act as a reflection for you, a monument to say, this is how you want to continue to be.
So let's say you're on the wall and you've got to do this process of unclipping, clipping, all that. And you're going to rappel down.
Yeah. Cortisol's shooting up.
Yeah. So you're on this wall. And you could either be on a linear path or a cyclic path. Like, you can accept nature and be internal with it, or you can go external, like you just said.
Yep.
because this is the crux of where we're at, and we're going to end in air, because it's
the crux
earth,
was
water,
actually
fire, air. But
at the bottom of my root. That was the hardest move.
yeah, but I mean, when you're in that moment, you can internalize or externalize. You can accept nature, or you can you may survive, but you can fight the whole process. And that's where we're at. We're fighting nature. We try to transform it and fight it to the point to where it yields the greatest ROI.
And you know what's ridiculous? We're fighting nature. Think about this though. You're not really you're really fighting yourself. Nature's responding to your bad decisions. Mm-hmm. So you're just really fighting your own bad decisions.
Yes.
You're not learning from them. You're not integrating with them.
Yeah, and so when we look at...
It's almost like we're blaming nature.
Well, we do. We have a victim mentality. We blame everything, but take 100% responsibility. Like you said on the wall, when you're rock climbing, you could blame everything all around. The rusty chain, the instructor, the this, the that. Your fiance was probably there. You could blame her for not doing this right. Yeah, I mean, there's so many...
Where's my emotional support? Screaming from 50 feet up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then you're just freaking her out for no reason because she's helpless. There's nothing she can do.
No, she can't do anything. No one can do anything except for me.
So when we look at air, we know the saturation of oxygen is dropping. We can even see this when people have underlying conditions. I was talking to somebody in Seattle this way, and they have to have an oxygen mask. So, and this is interesting because we take 25,900 breaths every single day. The Mayan calendar was based off of 25,900. We know
12.
The Hindu,
they had a base 12 system.
Yeah, and we have it was 25,900 years total is what the calendar was based off of. Mm-hmm.
That's called a great year.
Yeah, and so, but it's just these aren't coincidence. There's Hindu systems that talk about 25,900. If you type that word in Google, you're going to see a lot of things that translate to the 25,900. So
I think it was base 12 or base 60.
When we look at the air, so we need water, we need good food. We look at the air that we breathe.
Yeah,
and we know it's extremely polluted. We know the oxygen levels are going down. We need oxygen. I want people to understand this. As bad as we saw people getting COVID,
yeah,
I say the earth has a flu. It's overheated. We're having trauma. It's reacting like it has a flu, monsoons, earthquakes,
it's swollen.
Fires.
The earth is swollen.
So if we begin to look at this earth, we begin to look at the things that we need to survive, the food systems, the air, the water, and we recognize that it is just like us because it's a mirror of us. Isn't that funny?
That's correct.
It's inflamed. It's overheated. It's sick. It has the flu. So do we. Now there's responsibility that has to happen. There's this.
Where's that start? Where's that responsibility start?
It starts in us looking at the planet and ourselves and understanding that there's a flow to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, there's evolution and biology and all these things, and those are great, but they must and will always truthfully have to bow to nature. Nature can't bend to us. We have to bend to nature because
we are nature.
Yeah, we are nature. Yeah, but I mean, it's this idea of fighting. Like we're fighting so many things.
Always separating. Fighting is inflammation. You have inflammation of your thoughts. You think too much. You don't have focus. Mm-hmm. So many things are sick at one time. It's like, and you go to the doctor, he's like, I don't even know where to start. You're a mess.
Yeah, and if you're at that point where, or maybe you're depressed, or maybe you're wanting to freak out on a wall, or like me, give a resignation letter, whatever it may be, what we do to the planet, we do to ourselves.
Correct.
So I looked at it and said, logically, where am I at right now? This is the end of my story, but where am I at right now? Oh, I was on a plane. I got really stressed out. I talked to people that were negative oriented. Oh, I ate bad food at the airport. Mm-hmm. So I had a beer, go. Now I begin to look at it and say,
think about that flow of events.
Oh, I had no sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drink very much water because I was so busy doing everything. And then I was in a new place. I was in an Airbnb and I didn't go to, so I went to the store and bought some water and, so I had to reset myself and get back to nature. So what was nature for me? One, I was right next to this beautiful park and there's mountains everywhere. Yeah. So I'm going to go out in those to reset my brain and get back out into nature, get into the snow, get into, which I did. I did all of that. And then I went and it's like, I bought gallons of water and began to drink. I'm committing to drinking a gallon of water a day, good water.
Good for you.
But I mean, these are the things that we have to do. You want to fix yourself? Go back to nature.
Every single time. How many times you and I hear about this all the time? Go back to nature. Go back to the creation laws. Go back to these things. Go back to who you're supposed to be.
But I think, we think about, creational laws, the law of cause and effect, the law of unity.
Yeah, I guess people get lost
it's like ethereal, like in the sense of it's air. Mm-hmm. This is very, very practical.
Sure.
This is like, okay, look at my metabolism, the fire, look at the air. How am I breathing? The water, the earth. And then from there, dissect yourself. You can figure your problem out. Yeah. Really quickly.
No, you can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've been eating shitty for fucking 20 years. Well, guess what? You're going to feel shitty for a month or two transitioning over to this other diet. Your body is detoxing.
Yeah. The planet needs to detox.
So prepare for it and say, okay, this is what I need to do. As much as it would take, if we began to work on the earth right now, it's still going to take time. For it to clean itself up. All this NPK fertilizer that we have in all these countries and it's just going to disappear because we've made a decision to change. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I'm talking about. The decision that you made on that wall or decision that I made in that moment, and we both, you're here and I'm here, so we both made the right decision. If you want to figure out what right is, but yeah, because it's not wrong when you make a wrong decision.
No.
I was thinking about that too.
No, it's just an error and you learn from it. No big deal.
Yeah. But whenever you look at making a decision, it's what happens after that decision that really counts.
It's the action.
It's the execution.
Remember how upset I got on that Turtle episode about people doing a pledge?
Yeah.
2050. You're not doing shit. You're pledging.
Yeah.
You're not actually doing anything. This is why I was so fired up. We think I'm supposed to go up there. I'm on the wall, right? What do I just pledge to go down? I pledge that I'm going to go up there, clean the root, and come down. No. I got to do it. The action will determine the outcome, not the pledge. Right?
No, it makes like
had the thought,
right.
Willed myself to do the action, did the action. Full cycle.
So whenever we look at, because this is really, really important, and I want people to get this, whenever we look at this responsibility to take action, mm-hmm. And not just all of humanity, because we have 50 to 70 years left on this earth, but individually. Taking individual responsibility. There is no one there's no government, there's no mom or dad or anyone that's going to pull you out of the funk that you're in because you've gone against nature.
The only person to pull you out is you.
Yes, exactly. And whenever feels so great, whenever you become aware of that and then you say, how do I fix it? This, and this.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you're going to see, just like I did, you're going to see the bad actions, the cause and effect that created that moment.
Precisely right.
The moment you just hop on and I'm a victim to it and all of a sudden my emotions took over. There's a reason. It's like when somebody has, when somebody's married and they made a commitment to somebody and they have an affair, mm-hmm. There's a lot that led up to that.
Yeah,
there's
just
DMs. And it didn't just be like, I'm at the gas station and look over and say, oh, you're hot. I'm hot.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
It's probably most of it was this emotional, connection. And then from the emotional connection, it turns into this physical. And then there's a lot of stuff that goes around it. And we all know all that.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of action that happened and commitment that had to happen for the outcome, whether it's negative or positive.
If you feel like you're drowning, start swimming. I don't know what else to tell you.
Well, but
get on top of the water. Go up to the oxygen.
I'm telling you right now, if you're feeling shitty and you don't know what to do, go on a hike right now.
Yeah.
Don't put your headphones in and listen to music. Listen to music that is nature that has been there for billions of years. Listen to that music. Pay attention to the trees. Pay attention to the rocks. Pay attention to how your feet feel on the ground. Stop and take a break and take your shoes off and feel the earth and embrace the tree. Do all of these things. And yeah, people are going to think you're crazy, but who gives two fucks? I did that. And whenever you begin to get that Schumann resonance, and we had a whole podcast.
The Schumann resonance.
Yeah, the Schumann resonance.
Yeah, whenever Schumann resonance.
Whenever that began, that frequency, that eternal frequency of nature begins to align with you, and we talked about that in the beginning. This
you mean
vibrational.
you align with it?
Yeah,
it's
always doing its thing eternally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you can't help but to change. So go on a hike right the fuck now.
Yeah.
Don't put your headphones in. Relax. Take your shoes off. Have some fun. Then come back after you've had that. Then come back. Sit down with a notepad. That's what I like to use, or your computer, however you. I like notepads better because in there I don't have a screen to distract me.
Correct.
Same as like you talked about reading books
all the time.
So get a notepad out and write. How are you going against nature in your life? And you're going to find the reason why you are in the state that you are.
Correct.
And then you can fix it or cure it. And you have all the power in you to fix it.
Just to give a little bit of evidence. So, I have this biometric tracker. I keep it on me all the time. It's very detailed. You know that. And I do pretty steady outputs of energy strain on my heart every single day. Now, when I was out on the crag, or the area where you go to rock climb outside, I'm outside all day long. I'm in bare feet. I'm actually touching granite or limestone. I'm on it. I'm connected with it all day long. I'm feeling the sunlight, listening to the birds. I had a higher output of energy, but when I woke up, my recovery was far beyond what it would have been if I did that same sort of output when I'm in the gym in actually a synthesized area. It's incredible. And I've seen it every single time. This is recorded. I'm not making this up. This happens every single time, even with a maximum amount of effort and output. Even though I had a little bit of cortisol going off and all those other things, my body was able to adapt and find its equilibrium, rest and recover from that sort of environment that I was in. Remove yourself from the synthetics. Get out of it. Get out of that synthesized world. Go back to a natural one.
And it will open your mind.
It does open your mind. It absolutely does. Things change when you're out there. When you're face to face with nature, when you're actually face to face with your health, when you're face to face with silence and your thoughts, you change. Deep, deep change. Physiological, mental, and emotional change. Okay? Just go put in the work. Go be responsible. Wake up, pay attention, start swimming when you're drowning.